It's no secret that nature can be cruel. Meeting a wild animal in its natural habitat can often mean becoming its prey. But animals don't tend to attack for no reason. Most often, they try to avoid people. If a person doesn't pose an immediate threat to the animal will most likely just leave. Today's story is about a bear who threw herself in front of someone's car, causing both herself and the people inside great risk. What prompted her to do this? Get comfortable as we begin. It happened in a small village in eastern Siberia during the short northern summer, which usually only lasts a couple of months. Locals usually try to use this time to stock up on supplies such as medicinal herbs, firewood, and food. One morning, some locals were headed to the forest to collect such things when they heard an explosion in the wilderness, then saw a thick pillar of smoke. Everyone immediately rushed in that direction to see what had happened. When people arrived on the scene, they saw a terrible thing. A huge SUV had crashed into a tree, apparently at high speed. There was an explosion and a blazing fire. 3 men had exited the vehicle, dazed and confused with various abrasions, but they were all alive. The people treated the men's wounds, then took them to the local hospital. There, a local ranger arrived in order to figure out what had happened. The men told him an incredible story. They were driving along a forest road when out of nowhere a huge bear jumped right in front of their vehicle. The driver lost control and crashed into a tree. The men barely managed to escape the car before it exploded from the impact on the engine. After hearing their story, the ranger went to the forest to inspect the car and hopefully find the bear, since she was likely injured and would need help as well. Once he arrived, what he saw caused him to freeze, and then tears flowed from his eyes. It was all starting to make sense now. 2 years ago, these same men had come to the forest to hunt, not for food, but just for fun. The ranger couldn't understand people who did this. They shot at everything that moved. Then they set their sights on a bear that was drinking from the river with her cub. The men took aim and all 3 of their shots rang out at the same time. One wounded the mother bear. She howled in pain and tried to limp away. But then she stopped and turned back for her cub, who was laying on the shore, breathing heavily due to injury, but still alive. She rushed back to help him, but then more shots rang out. The men continued to shoot at her, preventing her from approaching her baby. The poor animal roared in pain and despair, seeing how her cub was suffering, but she could not help him. After the men got bored, they unleashed their dogs, which tore the unfortunate bear cub apart in just a matter of seconds. Then they began to attack the mother bear. Wounded, she could not defend herself and could only run further into the forest, leaving the body of her poor baby alone by the river. The ranger had heard about this terrible act of violence, but he was recovering from a severe illness and had not moved fast enough to save the bears. By the time he arrived, he only found the terrible mess the hunters had left behind. The man collected their trash and then buried the cub. Now he was standing by their burned-out car, which he recognized right away. Memories of the terrible act flooded his mind as if it had all happened just yesterday. Then he heard the crunch of branches. The bear came straight up to him. He looked into her eyes, and it almost seemed as if he could read satisfaction in them. He realized she was not injured and was actually pleased with herself for getting revenge on her offenders. The ranger wept as he looked at her. While everyone blamed the bear for causing the accident, he perfectly understood her intent. He even thought he would do the same. Friends, what do you think? Did the bear do the right thing? Did she avenge the death of her baby, or was it just an accident? Share your opinion in the comments.